I think I have some explaining to do. I'm a relative newcomer to the Metroid series. For the longest time, the only one I had played was Corruption on the Wii, which I had borrowed from a friend, and I really enjoyed it, but I had never really felt myself drawn to the series, and I don't have a lot of friends who know much about it. That is, until the excessive amount of hype surrounding Metroid Dread's announcement. People were so over the moon enamored at the prospect of a new 2D Metroid. I had to play all of the games in the series, including AM2R, which was really excellent. So, when you look at my overall rankings of the series on GG, which you can follow me on the app or website, by the way, it may surprise you to learn how I rank these games. So let's see here. At the top, we've got Zero Mission, just amazing, super tight, condensed Metroid experience, fantastic in every way. And then Dread, of course, a close second, with its fluid gameplay and, more modern sensibilities. And then Fusion and AM2R, and you kind of go down the list here. And then we have... What? No! Super Metroid is considered by many to be a perfect video game. The pinnacle of the franchise of which nothing has ever come close to ever surpassing. It's become the template for an entire genre of games that are dominating the indie scene right now. But it's not my favorite. And I'm really not trying to be controversial here. I legitimately enjoyed it. I just enjoyed it less than those other titles. But here, let me explain why. First of all, some things I like and appreciate about it. Graphically, it holds up. It's hard to imagine a remake that looks better than the stellar pixel art here. That, coupled with the music, makes for an unparalleled, dark, and creepy atmosphere that later titles really try hard to emulate. And I also think the structure it has of item-based progression, it's timeless. Some of my favorite video games, period, follow Super's example of slowly unlocking a map with items. But man, those controls, jumping and aiming, it's so clunky. Not having a ledge grab and having to use select to bring up super missiles, I've heard there's modded versions that make the game feel more modern, and maybe playing one of those would help improve Super's ranking for me, but I have to take it as is for now. And I don't love how often I got lost when I played this game. Yes, that's arguably what makes a Metroidvania game a Metroidvania game, but I'm talking hours of wandering around here, just devoid of purpose, not knowing what to do. I get a little lost in some of the games, but generally they give you a direction at least to go. When I've wasted so much of my precious time not knowing what to do, it kills my enthusiasm. If I want to even have a shot of finishing the game, I have to look up a guide. And having to look up anything outside the game just to play it, to me that means the game has failed in its game design. And that's one of the reasons I cannot stand the FromSoft games either. I fully acknowledge this is a personal preference, but so is my rankings on this list. But okay, it's not my favorite, sure. But why? Why would I rank a pinball spin-off game above Super? Well, let's be clear about this. Metroid Pinball is a very good game. Probably the best pinball video game ever made. It's not the highest bar to clear, but I truly think this game is the best in its genre. Not just because it has fun mechanics, but because of how well it adapts the source material. You can play this like a typical pinball game and just chase the high scores, but you can also do a campaign mode where you travel from board to board facing bosses from Metroid Prime and unlocking abilities just like any other Metroid game. It fits surprisingly well, especially when you consider that ever since her first game, Samus has always been able to transform into a ball. She's arguably the best possible character for a game like this. Although I suppose Kirby comes pretty close when you look at his Game Boy pinball game. But there's another reason I enjoyed this game more than Super Metroid, and why I've probably sunk more hours into it than any other Metroid game. In order to explain, I have to get something off my chest. I positively cannot stand flying on an airplane. It's cramped, it's uncomfortable, and it usually makes me motion sick. I mean, I'll gladly take it over driving for several days in order to make it across the country, but in that case, I kind of view it as a necessary, unpleasant experience that I just have to power through in order to get somewhere more conveniently. Kind of like fast travel in an open world game, but with an extremely long loading screen that also makes you feel sick. So the only way I've managed to cope with long flights is finding a way to distract myself for as long as possible from just how gross I feel. And usually, I try to do it with the Switch, but a year or two ago, I ended up bringing a DS on a whim. I had just started collecting a few DS games and I wanted to try them out. Metroid Pinball was one of them, and it ended up being the only thing I played on that entire trip. This was to Japan, by the way, so it was an excessively long flight there and back. It was so fun. And ever since then, it's been my tradition to take this game on every flight. So that alone elevates this game for me. It's made an incredibly unpleasant experience I do not like somehow more bearable, more manageable. And I know that sounds silly. So I will say there is one thing that I can rant about concerning this game, since I kind of dug into Super a lot. I loaned this game to my brother, Marcus, who loaned it to a friend of his, who is positively obsessed with pinball games, and they scored an excessively high score that I have struggled to match ever since. Which, on the one hand, I mean, it's provided a tangible goal to shoot for when I play it on flights, but on the other hand, why? Why did you have to do that? How many flights do I gotta go on in order to beat this? But, yeah, that's the reason why I like Metroid Prime Pinball more than Super Metroid. You can gather your pitchforks and effigies of me now, or just loudly explain why I'm wrong in the comments below. But until next time, thank you for watching.